The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
What's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen here on the Full Court Press. Thanks for tuning in on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming online, 1069thefan.com. Would love to hear from you today about the events of the last 24 hours, your perspective on it, however it may be, especially with the NBA, Major League Soccer, Real Salt Lake. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. 435-339-0321. 435-339-0321 if you want to text into the show and let us know how you're thinking. Would love to also get into the high school football games that are going on this week. We've got an early one tomorrow, a game that technically will be going on while we're on the air tomorrow. And we'll see if there's any updates from the NBA about when play will resume. Players have agreed and voted that they will resume play, but we're not sure exactly when that resumption will take place. That has not yet been made fully clear. There was some discussion that it could be as early as Friday, but it's looking more likely that it'll be on Saturday when things would resume. So we'll try to get any additional details on that we can. But still, love to hear from you on that. And we'll do our pick six a little bit later on. And I noticed there was a little stickers on my table today. Did that come from you, or is that another friendly coworker?
It's another friendly coworker.
Okay, so I still need to get a pick six gift.
I gave you a second cupcake last week. That counts. Yeah, freaking laugh it up, Chuckles. You don't understand what I've been through. Stupid pick six thing. If I don't win next week, I am actually going to boycott the rest of our pick sixes.
Well, you can't boycott just because you're losing and you're bad. You have to boycott for like other reasons.
Well, that's a pretty good reason to me. Hey, by the way, are you did you get the email about fantasy football? Are you playing fantasy football?
Did it come just recently?
Well, there's two that have came in.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, maybe you're not playing fantasy football. Maybe it's a different team or group that offered me. I need to tell them no. I hate fantasy. Like, fantasy football is just, it screwed me over every single time I play. I hate fantasy football. I'd rather not play. But yeah, a lot to get to, Eric, here in the second hour. We talked a little bit about Dell Loy Hansen situation with Real Salt Lake. Wasn't happy last night, then jumped on a couple of radio shows today and made some comments. I don't know if he backtracked, but just made some comments. Sorry. And now now there's an article that's came out on The Athletic, right, about some comments that are not good and some things that he said that are not appropriate towards opposing players.
Well, and about his own personal players.
And personal players. And they are extremely racial, extremely inappropriate, and extremely unprofessional, in so much that he should be gone. If Donald Sterling, for what he said, is fired, definitely, and I mean definitely, should Dell Loy Hansen be gone.
Okay, so had an interesting discussion with a coworker earlier today. Talking about Donald Sterling and how he got outed. Or ousted, I should say. And his situation was that a lot of other NBA owners, they did not like him for a long list of reasons. Mm-hmm. How he ran his team, how he was never really engaged whenever they had meetings. He was on his phone, messing around, taking calls in the middle of meetings, like he didn't really care. There were some other allegations against him. So there were a variety of issues that were stacked against Donald Sterling, and then when the latest issue surfaced that got national attention, that gave the owners cover and Adam Silver cover to say, okay, it's time for you to go, and they got him out. Now, I am completely unaware of how Dell Loy Hansen does things with the Major League Soccer, other than to say, from what an outsider, it looks like it's been a good relationship.
Mm-hmm. He's
been able to do a lot of significant things, even this year in the middle of the pandemic and in the community.
But again, Eric, you can't say the things that the Athletic article has claimed that he allegedly said and be a part of this organization and be a part of this community and be an owner for a team where LHM pretty much rules the world, honestly, in the state of Utah. You can't say things of like, hey, when are we going to lynch this guy, quote unquote? Yeah, that exact verbatim. When are we going to lynch this guy? You can't say that and be an owner of a team in the state of Utah, especially. And if they allow him to still be there, dude, that is going to do so much damage for that organization, where they'll never, ever get another soccer player to come here.
Well, certainly his comments today, and backed up now with this pretty scathing report from The Athletic, if in fact Dell Loy Hansen wants to still attract players that are going to compete at a high level to his team, would have to suspect that he's going to have to do some pretty serious meetings with his players and his personnel.
Yeah, and by the way, oh, hey, will you go to my Twitter account really quickly? Speaking of which, so Rob Manfred wanted to make some kind of a protest statement but yet play a game. And this is the New York Mets management staff. And I believe it's the owner, or it's not the owner, excuse me, maybe the president. And in the video, it's supposed to be kept between the three people who are there. And I'm guessing one of them's a PR guy based on the conversation. And I don't know if it's an intern, but someone left the freaking camera on and rolled on it and then shared it. Listen to this.
You've listened to this already? It's okay for Eric?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Rob Manfred we'll be hearing.
Yeah, that's not Rob Manfred. It's a conversation that I believe is the GM or the president had with Rob Manfred on a phone call of Rob Manfred's plan of how to handle the protest and what the Mets should do. And he wants them to play and protest in a different way. And I don't know if it's the president or GM, but he's having a conversation with two other people. I'm guessing one of them's the PR guy based on the conversation of the replies back. Listen to this.
They're mulling that over. Baseball's trying to come up with a solution, saying, "Oh, you know, it'd be super powerful. Three of us here can't leave this room." They're saying, "You know, it'd be really great if you just have them all take the field, then they leave the field, and then they come back and play at 8:10." And I was like, "What? What's that?" Rob. Because Jeff's scheduling's gonna be a nightmare. There's so much at stake. And I said, "Jeff, that's not happening.
They're not dealing with reality.
They're not playing, but that's Rob's instinct. And Rob, not exactly what you and I were talking about. At leadership level, he doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. And
That's so.
anyway, so we're waiting. Jeff wants to hear, as soon as we hear from the Marlins, Conforto should, whatever we do, we need to coordinate with the Marlins. So as soon as Conforto hears from Rojas, right? Miguel Rojas?
Yeah.
Let me know, because Jeff's standing by for that call, and then we can.
They're mulling that over.
Baseball.
So, kind of hard to hear. They have masks on, and it's not directly on them. They're not mic'd.
He just doesn't get it.
But basically,
in the leadership,
the Mets wanted to not. They didn't want to play.
Yeah, they wanted. Yeah,
but Rob Manfred was trying to say, look, take the field at 7:10, then leave, and then come back at 8:10. And so that's where they were voicing frustration that He didn't get the fact that they didn't want to play. Taking the field and leaving, then coming back an hour later, doesn't solve the issue. So, interesting.
Rob Manfred doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah, that was a direct quote.
So Rob Manfred's going to be making a phone call today. Oh, boy. Yeah. So that's where we're at here in 2020. How are you all doing? Eric, my question to you now becomes when, and I think we asked you, earlier, when do we get back to playing games? I honestly, and this is probably bad of me to say, but the sooner the better. What would be my guess? The sooner the better. To try to get, just a sense of organization back. I mean, having basketball back, having baseball back, and I know that sounds really selfish on my part to say that, because I'm not one of these athletes doing this, but I think it would help immensely. And the question is, Eric, currently it's 7:12 in Florida. Games would start at 1:30 in the afternoon in Florida, which makes me think that we aren't playing tomorrow. I mean, things would have been announced by now, unless they're waiting till like 9 o'clock tonight or 10 o'clock tonight to say, okay, these teams and these games will happen tomorrow and these games will happen Saturday. But I think, as you talked about in the first hour, I think it's you need to give these guys a chance to regroup, reset, and then get back with their team, get back on the court, go shoot the basketball, get a workout in of some sort, have a walkthrough so you know what you're prepping for or whatever, and then and be in the film room as well, and then go out and play. How long that takes, I have no idea, but it's at least going to take a full day.
This is according to Tim Bonkamps, who reported this earlier today. He said the exact date of when the playoffs will resume and what will happen next is expected to be announced after Thursday afternoon's meeting, which also will include discussion of formulating the action plans to address racial injustice issues. It's, as you said, it's after 7 o'clock now in Orlando, and we have not heard anything yet, so they must still be fine-tuning something.
0549 texted, my suggestion to a better way to protest would be for pro athletes to be liaisons. Is that
liaisons?
Liaisons, sorry. I'm sorry. To be liaisons between the community and police force by doing ride-alongs and being more involved that way. Thoughts? That's actually a really good idea. See, look, and I understand there's this relationship between the police and the athletes, or, that it's very tense. But is there a way you could do a community sort of thing between the athletes, with the athletes, the police department, and the community, where you're all one? Like a ride-along or like a bar. I know it sounds weird. It does, but maybe like a barbecue or of a community get-together of some sort, to where they're both able to share their message of, hey, we want the same thing. That's not a horrible.
It's not a horrible idea. No, I mean, because then you make a connection if I'm a cop and I get to go have a barbecue with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and Joe Ingles, that's cool.
The thing is, and that's the thing, you bring up, like, I know that it's going to be, oh, hey, let's go see Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles and Rudy Gobert, and it's not going to see, hey, let's go see Officer James and Officer Taylor and Officer so on and so forth. They're not going to care about the police officers. They're going to be caring about the athletes.
Yeah.
So you got to find a way, and the athletes got to be able to promote it to where, hey, we're here together. This isn't just about Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Joe Ingles. It's about us and the police force and the community finding one ground.
Right, because I think that there's been a lot of disrespect thrown around at police officers and the police force generally in a lot of places that I think is unfounded. Because I know a lot of great cops.
Yeah, I do,
I know great people who are in that line of work.
In fact,
but at the same time, there are bad actors, and it affects everybody that's in that profession.
Eric, I was thinking about it, and I sometimes kind of wonder if my mind is too set upon the media showing the bad stuff of police officers. I got to be honest. I love seeing videos. I saw a video last week of a police officer pulling over a black girl driving the car and a black guy in the passenger seat. And he's, he goes to the gal and says, "Hey, what's your name?" And she gives him his name, and you could tell she's pretty scared, and she doesn't know what she did wrong. And he says, "Okay, well, I'm Officer so and so. Do you know what I pulled you over for today?" And she says, "I don't know." And you could tell she was almost about to cry. And the police officer says, "Well, it's too hot outside, so why don't you have an ice cream bar in your hand?" And then he hands out ice cream bars to the two people in their car. Like, we don't get to see videos enough of that. I love watching videos of
I
police
know that
officers.
stuff happens here locally.
Yeah, and I love seeing videos of police officers doing that kind of stuff. Why am I being inundated by the videos of police officers shooting people? Why can't I see a police officer doing something good instead of being in a tense situation so you can prove that, hey, the officers have a hard life? Show me something where a video of a police officer doing something good, and there's plenty of it out there. Show me that on the media. Show me that when I watch it on TV. Show me that on social media. Show me it somewhere, please. I want to see more of that than the videos of the media throwing at my face of tense situations, whether they're right or whether they're wrong. I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. Give me something good to look at. Like watching police officers walk arm in arm with the black community. Wonderful. Please send me more of it. I'm begging of you. Instead of this garbage that I have to watch every single day. You know?
I couldn't agree with that more. Because they do a lot of great things.
I mean, imagine if Donovan Mitchell and some of the, or not even just Utah athletes, even athletes wherever, gathering with police officers and having community conversation, gathering as community and showing unity to want the same thing. That would be blasted all over the news, all over social media. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. And, and you're right. There are great officers around the country. There are great officers, wonderful officers in our valley. I met one of them 2 months ago. I was at a gas station, grabbed a drink, saw an officer filling up for gas. And I just went over and I said, "Hey, look, I know there's a lot of tension between you and I, or at least people like myself. I want you to know if we look at the same thing and we want the same thing, we're going to be okay." And he shook my hand. Actually, he stuck his hand out and shook my hand. He said, "I agree." And he smiled at me and I said, "Thanks for all you do." And he said, "I appreciate you." And we walked away. Like, there are great officers in our wonderful valley. Unfortunately, we're just being overwhelmed by all the negativity and the bad apples out there that are officers dressed in uniform that shouldn't be.
Yeah, and it's makes it hard when people show up with their machine guns walking around and police are like,
and not a thing's done.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, not a
hey,
thing's
thanks
done.
for being here. Have a cold water.
Here's Burger King for you.
If it was a group of people of color walking around with machine guns, they would have drawn on them and probably shot them. I would hope that wouldn't happen, but gosh, how am I to believe otherwise based on the events of the last week?
Hey, going back to our top of the conversation with the Mets situation, it's currently 7-19 in New York. At 7:10, the Mets took the field led by Dom Smith and Billy Hamilton. All players then came out of the dugout. Watcha took his hat off. The rest of the players followed. There was a 42-second moment of silence, and then the players walked off. A Black Lives Matter shirt is left on home plate. That's it.
So the question is, do they return in an hour?
Yeah. Do they go back and play?
Do they do Manfred's proposal, or do they do their own? Wow. Crazy times. I'd love to hear from you, though, your reactions to the news of the day regarding the NBA, player protests, team protests, some of the comments made by Dell Loy Hansen regarding the protests that took place from RSL. His Major League Soccer commissioner is not happy with some of his comments. He did seem to backtrack somewhat this afternoon when he was on a different radio program. But The Athletic has posted a pretty scathing report about
it's not good.
Multiple cases of inappropriate language racially charged language that's been used by him in the past. So, yeah. Real Salt Lake is scheduled to play a game on Saturday. Will they play or not? We don't know. By the way, it's been interesting to see some of the different statements that organizations, team organizations have issued. Some provided phone numbers and email addresses of those in authority in Wisconsin to try to help move things forward in their discussions.
Really?
For taking action. The Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers did that. There's a statement issued today from the Baltimore Ravens just within the last hour. Says, with yet another example of racial discrimination with the shooting of Jacob Blake and the unlawful abuse of peaceful protesters, we must unify as a society. It is imperative that all people, regardless of race, religion, creed, or belief, come together to say enough is enough. This is bigger than sports. Racism is embedded in the fabric of our nation's foundation and is a blemish on our country's history. If we are to change course and make our world a better place, we must face this problem head on and act now to enact positive change. It's time to accept accountability and acknowledge the ramifications of slavery and racial injustice. Though we cannot right all the wrongs of our country's history, we can, 1, arrest and charge the police officers responsible for Breonna Taylor's killing and the shooting of Jacob Blake. 2, demand that Senator Mitch McConnell bring George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2020 to the Senate floor for vote. And 3, support state and federally mandated CALIA accreditation and national standards of care in policing. And there's even more. It keeps going. So the Baltimore Ravens listing several things, action plans, rather than just "we stand with you," being very specific. I applaud them for that. I think you have to be careful to some degree inserting yourself into an ongoing investigation if you don't know all the details. But a lot of us have seen those videos. It's pretty clear what's gone on. But the change needs to happen. There's been more discussion now than there has been in the past, but it's clear that it's not come far enough.
Yeah, we still have, I think we said it at the end of the 4 o'clock hour, and I'll say it again, we have a absolutely long ways to go.
All right, let's do this. Let's call timeout here on the Full Court Press. When we come back, see if there's any other details about the NBA plans for this weekend. We do have some high school games that are taking place this weekend. We know for sure they are. One of them is going to be earlier in the afternoon, so we'll try to preview those games now, especially the Mountain Crest game. And other updates on what's going on throughout the sports world and many other boycotts, postponements that are taking place throughout sports over the last 24 hours. We'll discuss that next here on the Full Court Press.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen, Full Court Press here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming online, 1069thefan.com. Hey, by the way, Labor Day is coming up, and if you're planning on trying to get in a last-minute road trip for Labor Day, make sure your vehicle is going to make it. The folks at A1 Automotive and Performance, they can do a pre-travel check. A safety check before you head out. And they can make sure everything's up to snuff and is going to be okay. If something does need replaced, they have an amazing warranty, a 36,000-mile parts and labor warranty on any repair that they do. So give them a call, A1 Automotive and Performance. They're friends of the program. Call them at 752-9636, 752-9636. Or go check them out at their new place at 1065 West, 600 North in Logan. So a couple different things going on this weekend. We do know for sure high school football is going to be taking place for teams around here. In Provo, not so much. Timpview, is it? They had to cancel their game.
Yeah, Timpview and is it Provo? Timpview and who?
That sounds right.
I think it was Timpview and Provo had to cancel tonight. Yeah, it's a rivalry game.
Yes, it has been. That Provo Timpview game has been canceled because of COVID-19. 3 classes at Provo High are in quarantine. Several coaches quarantined at Provo High. So we know how that goes. Having a game canceled.
Yep, sure do.
Ridgeline has got to be excited to have a normal schedule and a normal game for this Friday.
It's a big one, too. This Farmington squad, Eric, they're a good football team. Now, granted, they got blasted by Corner Canyon, but mind you, Corner Canyon is loaded. I mean, loaded with talent. So that'd be crazy. To think less of Farmington because they get beat 49-20 by Corner Canyon. Farmington's a good team, can put up points in a hurry. I like tomorrow night's matchup, or I guess it's tomorrow night's matchup between Ridgeline and Farmington at Ridgeline in Millville. I'm going to that game.
Game 1 for Ridgeline had to be moved because of travel with the state or the district's policy about overnight travel. So the game 1 was affected by coronavirus in a roundabout way. Had to be played at a neutral site. Game 2 got canceled because Cypress had players contract the virus. Game 3, crossing fingers and toes and eyes and anything else, that should happen as normally scheduled. As you said, against Farmington, a 5A team, a new school, but
they took
challenge.
Well, they took a ton of Davis darts from that area. Like a bunch of Davis darts left that Davis squad and went to Farmington, and Farmington was loaded last year. They're still pretty good this year too. So it could be that's going to be a fun game. Both offenses are really good. I'll be interested to see what kind of defensive adjustments Ridgeline has made. They gave up a lot of points last week, still got to win. Or it's not, 2 weeks ago, they still got to win. So, to have that bye was major for Ridgeline. So this is going to be a good one tomorrow night.
Yeah, what a benefit from a young team. Play a game, then have some time to retool a few things and re-examine a few things. And especially, as you said, try to shore up that defense. But the big game that we're going to be paying close attention to, because it starts earlier than normal, as a reminder, it's a Mountain Crest game. They play Bonneville, but this is the Bonneville Bees up in Idaho. That game's going to be played up at Madison High School. It's in Rexburg. And it's part of that Rocky Mountain Rumble showcase that was normally scheduled to take place in in Pocatello, but then got moved up to Rexburg. And so Mountain Crest plays Bonneville at 4 tomorrow. Box Elder plays Rigby at 4 on Saturday. And Skyview plays Highland at 7 on Saturday. So a little different schedule than normal. We have 2 teams playing Bonneville schools. So don't get confused. Mountain Crest is against the Bonneville Bees. Bear River is taking on the Bonneville Lakers. That's going to be taking place at Bonneville for Bear River. And that's going to be interesting, too. Bear River has done okay despite their injuries, but when is that going to catch up to them?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing for them is, now Josh Payne's out for at least another week, and Easton Lish is out for the season now. Injuries, again, really stopped this team last year. And I said, before the season that if they could stay healthy, they're going to make a run at a region title. Well, now you're already down 2 starters. Very, very big contributional starters, too. That's a lot to make up to lose Easton Lish for a whole entire season. But credit to them. They're 2-0, Eric.
Yeah, they're finding ways to win.
Yeah, and so I picked them to lose last week. That was my fault. They won 20-14. I think they win this week against Bonneville. I'm looking forward to this one.
Green Canyon is taking on Stansbury. Stansbury played. This is the 3rd Region 11 team that Stansbury will have played. They opened their season against Skyview. Then they hosted Logan, and now they're hosting Green Canyon. So Stansbury's getting their fill of Region 11 teams. They were they came back from being down against Skyview. They took care of business against Logan. What will be the case this Friday with Green Canyon in tow? This Green Canyon team fought a Box Elder team that was trying to rebound from an opening week loss, kind of an embarrassing loss. Box Elder played really well. Then you have to give Green Canyon a ton of credit for how they were able to hold off Box Elder late and then score 2 late touchdowns to secure a 1-point victory.
I think Green Canyon and Skyview are really the two teams, the elite teams of Regional 11 this year. I think they're the two teams that can actually do some damage in the 4A state tournament. They both got really good schedules. I love, the fact that this Skyview team can lose the best player not only in the team, not only in the region, but in the state of Utah, and still be as efficient as they have been, says a lot about how good their coaching staff is right now at Skyview. Been so impressed with the Skyview football team in these first 2 weeks. And then, as you said, Green Canyon led by Jake Lundeen. This team's locked. This team's loaded. This team's good offensively, physical, defensively. It's going to be a battle. I honestly would be surprised if Green Canyon lost this game against Stansbury. If you play a full 48 minutes of productive football against Stansbury, I don't think they have a shot. So,
and then the last stop here, as we go through the different teams in Region 11, at least, that are taking place, Logan is facing a Cypress team this weekend. And Cypress didn't play last week. They had a coronavirus hit their team. How well have they recovered? Do they have players that are still out for this game? So that could be an interesting matchup between Logan and Cypress. Cypress is a classification higher. It's going to be a tough challenge for Logan. Logan's played some pretty decent defense to still give themselves some chances. Their offense just really hasn't seemed to get going quite yet. Yeah,
Logan and Mountain Crest are pretty much reading the same book right now, right? They have great defenses, but no offense at all whatsoever. And again, credit to Logan that they've been able to hang in there in a tough schedule so far. Provo's not a horrible football team, and they lost 14-7 on a late touchdown. I thought they competed well last week. I like, Cypress is a classification higher. They have a deeper squad, a deeper bench, and really a more athletic offense, to be very honest with you. If Logan's offense can give them the defense a little bit of help, just some production of 14-plus points, maybe that defense can help in return by a turnover, a score of their own would be huge, and give them an opportunity to stay in the game. You could see an upset. Is that at Logan or at Cypress, Eric?
It's at Cypress.
Jeez. So yeah, boy, that's tough to. And by the way, it's tough to play at Cypress. That's a tough place to play at. I've been there a couple of times.
Let's see here. I'm trying to go to our Pick'ems contest, and it's not taking me there. From the link on our website.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to go to cvpick'em.com. Tappity, enter.
I probably should be talking between that dead air time, but I had nothing for you.
There we go. There it is.
Have we talked about Skyview Highland yet?
Not in a lot of detail. Those are two teams that routinely face each other.
Yeah, and those are true. And by the way, those are two teams that represent their respective areas really well. Skyview's been the cream of the crop in 4A for how long now? And they continue to be the cream of the crop now, still in this season. Highland, Idaho has been a very good football team for the last few years as well. Probably actually for the last 6-7 years. They've been a good football team in Idaho. I'd be really surprised if Skyview went over there and dropped one to Highland, Idaho. They just seem like such a complete team again. Defensively, they're aggressive. They are maniacal, if you will. The linebacker corps is so fast and so physical, and I don't know if they're big, but they're just physical, and that alone can create a bunch of havoc for you. I love what Skyview's doing, and I'm sure Idaho's a good football, or Highland Idaho's a good football team. I've got Skyview in a route. I just think Skyview's so loaded. Offensively, defensively, special teams. Isaac Larson's a menace on both sides of the ball. Skyview in a route on Saturday afternoon.
Okay, so I'm looking at our high school pick'ems contest presented by the Logo Shop. And when you go there, before you even log in or make your selections, you can see how other people are voting. Like, I can see right now that 98% of everybody who's participated so far are picking Preston to beat Shelley in their opener. 91% are picking West Side to beat Firth. That'll be their season opener for the Pirates. But there's a couple others that are kind of even. There's a little bit of uncertainty on some. And so there's probably the strongest vote here is that Preston over Shelley at 98%. But Skyview, 94%.
Oh.
Mountain Crest, 30% to hang in there with Bonneville, Idaho. So anyway, you can go, you can make your selections. The tiebreaker is that Farmington Ridgeline game, so you need to put in a score.
Keep it high.
That matters a lot because we've seen a lot of people picking the same number of who's going to win and whatnot. The closest to the actual score could determine if you win this week's $100 gift card. And this week is for Locker 42. So if you get the most correct answers, or if you win the tiebreaker, you're going to win $100 to do whatever you want, shopping spree at Locker 42. And so a lot of great gear there. And go check it out, cvpick'em.com. Get registered if you haven't yet already. Log in, make your selections. And remember, you have to make your picks by 5 o'clock tomorrow. I know that the Mountain Crest game starts at 4, but we've allowed that to kind of overlap a little bit. So you have until 5 o'clock tomorrow to make your selections. And if you get them all right or get the most right, then you get $100 to Locker 42. Not a bad prize.
That's so cool. I still want that McDonald's gift card, too. Man, that'd be awesome.
There may be more of those later on.
Hook me up.
I don't think you're qualified.
Doggone it. Maybe for my Pick 6 gift, you give me $100.
No, you know what? If you go and click on the winners, your name will be there all season long because you won in week 1.
And I didn't apply in week 2. I forgot my password. I got to change my password again, doggone it.
Well, I learned today that they found a way to disqualify employees here to not show if we won or not.
What? Yeah. Are you serious?
Because we want the prizes to go to our listeners.
Yeah, sure. But look, if the employees, they don't have a better advantage than the listeners do they? In fact, the listeners probably have a better advantage because their kid plays for the team. So they got the scoop, on who's sitting out and who's playing. I mean, they're talking to parents on other schools, so they know what's going on. They got a good scouting report. Come on now. 11 games to choose from for this week. cvpick'em.com. Make your selections and make them before 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. All right, coming up next here on the Full Court Press, we'll circle back to the bigger news of the day. Any news from the NBA about what might happen this weekend? Players and the NBA look like they are going to resume play this weekend. We just don't know when.
The specifics of that. And Real Salt Lake is in the news, but not for the best of reasons. We'll get into that as well coming up on the Full Court Press.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen, and we've got our Pick 6 coming up, too. Don't forget about that. 6 things we think might happen this weekend. We're still trying to figure out what may happen or may not happen this weekend for some sports. No NHL tonight, no NBA. Several Major League Baseball games postponed, but not all of them, which puts an interesting light on Major League Baseball and how they're handling social issues. Several NFL practices got canceled today. Even on college campuses, practices got canceled on several, including Boston College, NC State, and I think there was another one. There's 3 or 4. So, anyway, several different things taking place. We are still trying to figure out and hear from the NBA what will happen with their resumption of play this weekend. They have come out to say that games in the season will resume. The playoffs will continue, but they have not laid out a clear game plan or schedule yet. There was some thought that they could resume as early as tomorrow, that games that were supposed to happen Wednesday would happen Friday. Games that were supposed to happen today would happen on Saturday. But it's looking more and more likely that it would be shifted to a Saturday, Sunday instead. And it just pushes things off a little bit more. Though I don't know if they are able to, if that ends up extending the season overall, or if they're able to make some adjustments as the playoffs go. Because let's be honest, if you have some teams that finish out their series 4-1, why do you have to wait around for 4 days before you go to the next level?
Yeah.
If the other team's already there waiting for you.
Yeah. And that's
Which is what's going on with Toronto and Boston.
Well, here's the thing: is now you're going to just bring a bunch of confusion into it, right? Because who's in round 2, who's in round 1? Here's what I suggest they should do. You're at Game 6 for who? Nuggets, Jazz, Clippers, Mavericks, right? Those two are at Game 6. You are at 3-1 for Lakers, Portland. Lakers are going to finish off Damian Lillard and the Trailblazers. That thing's over with.
Lillard's not even there.
Yeah.
He's going home.
He's going
his
home.
knee looked at.
Yeah, he's done. So expect the Lakers to win that one in a rout. Who else is in a 3-1 situation right now, man? Milwaukee and Orlando. That one's over.
Aaron Gordon is leaving the bubble because he's got a quad issue or an injury that he wants to get looked at.
So that's over. I mean, you can actually X-nay that series. And then you've got, again, 2 series at 2-2 apiece. Right? And Miami's already taking care of Indiana. Let the first round finish. I say you play 4 games tomorrow, or Saturday, tomorrow, whatever. You play, you can have Lakers and Portland play tomorrow. As a night game, you could have Dallas and LA Clippers play in a series tomorrow. You can have Jazz Nuggets play. Oh, and Houston OKC's at 2-2 apiece too, huh?
Yeah.
So they got to finish up.
Milwaukee and Orlando could play tomorrow.
Yeah. So really, you could essentially have all but one series finished up by the end of tomorrow night. 2 for sure. Lakers are not losing to Portland. Milwaukee's not losing to Orlando. Those 2 series are done. If the Jazz can take care of business, that's another series that can be done. And so really, you're just kind of waiting on Oklahoma City and Houston. You can start the second round, Eric, by Sunday. You have Houston and Oklahoma City play back-to-back because they're not traveling. Get that series over with. Finish it up in 2 days in a row, maybe, and be done with it. Everyone else can move on to round 2. But at least try to get a chunk of it done tomorrow or Saturday, whenever the heck they play.
Yeah, it's possible.
But the fact that it's 8:00 over there,
it may be delayed a day
in Florida. I'd be surprised if we have games tomorrow. But then at the same time, they're not traveling, and they already knew who their opponent is. So maybe they just say, "Hey, look, we're gonna play Friday. We're gonna get some of these games over with. Some of these series are gonna be over with tomorrow. Finish it up, and let's move on to Saturday, Sunday. Get round 2."
But if I'm a coach and players, yes, I understand my opponent. I've already seen them 4 times or 5 times. But still, you're trying to win a series. You don't want to cause a slip. You don't want to shift momentum. I'd want to make sure my guys are prepared. And mentally, their headspace the last 24 hours, I would really worry about walking into a game tomorrow. I would think that these guys are going to need time with their players to be with them one-on-one, to help them decompress, to help them get focused on basketball again a little bit, while also discussing what can we do in our own communities.
But haven't they done that already? Wasn't that what today was about?
There was a lot of stuff to some degree, yeah, but with the what can we do in our own communities aspect, but meeting one-on-one with your team to look at film for your opponents, no, I don't believe that's really been taking place.
Let me play devil's advocate for just a quick second. I know we got to go to break. Haven't they seen enough film, though? I mean, like you said, we've already played these guys 4 times. You already know what you're going to get on both sides. Right? I mean, you've seen them 4 straight times. We're good. Let's play.
Yeah, but playoffs are all about adjustments. What tweak can you do? How are you going to adjust to? They've been killing us on this pick and roll. How are we going to try and attack it differently this time? How can we adjust our roster, with our rotations to match up with? Now this guy's been surprising us in this series. So how are we going to adjust with what he's doing and eliminate what he could do?
Okay, I guess for some of that you could see, but I mean, like for example, Jazz Nuggets, you already know what's coming. You already know what's coming. You know what the rotation's going to look like. The Nuggets aren't going to change the rotation. Utah sure as heck aren't going to change their rotation. Let's play. Let's play. You don't need film. You already know that Jamal Murray's going to put 40 on you. And you know that Jokic is going to have 30 or something. You know what Donovan's going to have 40 or 50. Who can execute better? That's really what it comes down to. Because no game plan is going to go for perfection in the bubble. None of it is.
Yeah, perhaps. But I think that that's what these playoffs are. That's what coaches are. That's why they're there.
True. That's true. We got to go to break, don't we?
We do. Because we got to do our pick 6. So we'll do that next here on the Full Court Press.
You've been putting up with a dirty, dusty wood stove for years. Why haven't you changed it? Go to Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan. Look through their showroom for ideas on Quadrifire pellet and wood stoves and Heat and Glow gas fireplaces. They have several demos in place so you can see firsthand how your project will look. And you can trust the pros at Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They'll do the job right. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
The Aggies are number 1 here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
It's pick 6 time here on the Full Court Press. 6 things we think might happen. Whomever gets the most right gets a prize. Thank you for paying up, Ajay. Since I won, I'm going to go first.
Good for you.
Bear Lake over Rich. The margin of victory for Bear Lake over Rich in football, 17.5 points. Take the over or the under?
Over.
I'm going to take the over as well. The combined score between Skyview and Highland, 38.5.
Oh. Combined score?
Combined score.
Over.
I'm taking the over as well. And then Donovan Mitchell assists at Game 6 whenever that happens. 6.5.
Under.
I'm going to take the over. Okay?
Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray combined points, 68.5.
Ooh. I'm going to take the... I'm going to take the under, actually.
I'm going to take the over.
Okay.
Jokic, 12.5 rebounds, over, under.
Jokic, 12.5 rebounds? I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under as well. Gobert, 3.5 blocks, over, under.
I'm going to go over.
I'm going to go under.
All right. It'll be fun to see how this plays. We hope it does happen
games
this weekend. Have a great one, everybody.